In this episode of the Dr. Clay Show, I'm going to answer the question, should I be worried about the sugar in fruit? Buenos días, buenas tardes, o buenas noches, y bienvenidos al Dr. Clay Show. Why did I say, after saying Spanish, it's like I have to say Clay, weird. Clay Show, like I suddenly turned Hispanic or something. Anyway, I digress. Welcome to another episode of the Dr. Clay Show. I'm still your lovely and talented host, Dr. Clay Height. Now check out the new hair. I don't know if you noticed or not, but get a good look at it. I hope you can see it because I can't see myself in the fancy monitor here to see what you're seeing. Anyway, I went back to the old hairstyle, the mohawk. Just simply enough is enough with the mohawk, man. I just had to let it go. I'm not in a mohawk mood anymore. So, the problem with a mohawk, I find that sometimes I'm in a mohawk mood. Sometimes I'm in a Duck Dynasty beard mood. But the problem is, when you're not always in that mood, you're just kind of out of luck when you still have that same hairstyle, but you're not in the mood for it. So, until they make like a mohawk wig, which I wouldn't wear anyway. All right, enough about my hair. I need to get back to work here. So, I'm going to answer the question. And this question comes from my cousin, and we'll call him, we'll call him David, since that's his name. Hope that's all right, David. Normally, you're supposed to ask for permission to, use somebody's name, talk about him. But anyway, so my cousin David asked this question. That's what you can do when you're family, right? Your family gets treated the worst. Hey, I'm just assuming it's okay with you, David. If not, sorry about that. All right, so David asked me a question. He was watching the episode the other day about where I talked about Cheerios and banana, which I'm laughing because come to find out, that's what his wife eats for, what does that make his wife? If David is my cousin, then his wife is, and I won't mention her name because I do respect her privacy enough, just not David's. I guess her wife would be his wife would be my cousin-in-law. So my cousin-in-law, she eats Cheerios and eats cereal and banana for breakfast every day. So I kind of feel bad because I put her breakfast on blast. But anyway, but he did say that she eats one serving, and that's how you're supposed to do it. Absolutely nothing wrong with Cheerios and banana, just in the right portion. So anyway, I will, and I'm going to come back later and address that Weight Watchers topic, by the way. All right, so anyway, David asked me this question. He asked about the sugar in fruit because he makes a smoothie. He got him a bullet, one of those little hand blender deals, and he's trying to do healthy. So, and that's good. I didn't mean to, that was not nice, David. I'm sorry. I put trying to do good in air quotes, which kind of is condescending, and I apologize. But anyway, I do applaud your effort for going for a fruit smoothie for breakfast. That's what he's having for breakfast, is a fruit smoothie. And he said he was doing good because he's not having, bacon, eggs, and sausage, and so on. So anyway, and that really is good. So let's talk about the sugar in fruit, because he was wondering if when you're making a smoothie, whether it's for breakfast or for any other meal, if you add too much fruit to it, or if you add fruit to it at all, is that problematic? Because, on one hand, fruit is good for you, but on the other hand, you don't want to get too much sugar, right? So in this episode, we're going to answer just that question. So without further ado, let's do it. Let's take a look at David's breakfast smoothie. Now, to be clear, David's question wasn't just, should he be concerned about the sugar in the fruit? It was also like, is it okay to add fruit to a smoothie? So, and assuming he's trying to, to lose a little bit of body fat and to kind of be healthy overall. But, we're mainly talking about body fat reduction and or at least not gaining fat. So in terms of body fat, is it okay to add fruit to your smoothie? And should you be concerned about the sugar? So that's kind of the combo question. All right, well, to begin answering that, First of all, David, and everyone else, of course, I'm just kind of picturing David as I'm answering this question, but you need not be concerned about the sugar and the fruit. We'll talk about that question much more specifically later. But, sugar does have fruit, of course. I mean, it's God's dessert after all, right? So, of course, it's got sugar. It tastes good that way. But it also has fiber in it that kind of modulates. It helps to modulate, regulate, kind of dampen, so to speak, the glycemic response or the spike in blood sugar that you get. And likewise, there's just so many beneficial nutrients in fruit that it makes it such that we really need not be concerned about the sugar in fruit if you're going to have it in moderation, of course. And that leads me to my next point, because the overall answer to this question is you don't need to worry about the sugar in fruit, but you do need to worry about the carbs in the fruit, specifically in the smoothie that you're going to have. So let's look at the carb content of some fruits to kind of illustrate. For example, this apple here has about 25 grams of carbs. So does this banana, by the way. And I generally consider 25 grams a serving, so to speak, for kind of the average person wanting to lose fat. 25 grams of carbs is a good serving to have in a meal or kind of a snack meal. So anyway, here's the deal. When you're making your smoothie, don't worry about the sugar, and just keep in mind that the fruit is great. All of these fruits are great. But however, what you need to be concerned with is how much you put in there at one time, because here's the overall answer to your question. If you're asking me, is your smoothie okay to have? Here's what I want to know. How many grams of carbs? That's what I want to know. How many grams of carbs is in that smoothie? If you can tell me that, then I can tell you, pretty accurately if it's okay or not, and if it's too many or not. So that's what we need to know. So in order to do that, you simply have to track exactly what you put in the smoothie. Now, David mentioned that he put spinach in his salad. That is A-OK. That is great. And you can put all the spinach you want. In fact, within reason, I can't even think of an exception to this, but the more the better. Kale is another one that's good in there. Very nutritious, and it kind of hides well, so to speak, in a smoothie. What I mean by hides well is that kale normally doesn't taste that great, in my opinion, but you put it in a smoothie, I personally don't even notice it. So maybe try some kale as well. So these are what I call free foods, and they're free foods because you're free to eat all of them that you want. You don't have to worry about the carbs in them. The carb content in spinach and kale and most other vegetables is negligible. So what you need to monitor then is the carb content of your fruit. For example, grapes, and this is a 100-gram serving size, which is about 3.5 ounces. So with that in mind, with this serving size, grapes have 18 grams of carbs. And for the record, this is, 3.5 ounces might sound like a lot of grapes, but it's really not that many. It's, in fact, I looked up like one cup of grapes would have, and picture a cup, like a measuring cup, and then you put the grapes in there. You're not going to fit that many grapes in a measuring cup. And I'm not talking about one of those, a bigger measuring cup that actually holds 2 cups. I'm talking about one of those plastic ones that holds literally just 1 cup. Well, that weighs about 150 grams worth of grapes. So 1 cup of grapes, which really isn't that many, is therefore going to have about 27 grams of carbs. So again, you've always got to look at your serving size and the exact amount of grapes, for example, that you're going to have. And the carb content in grapes can add up fairly quickly, but yet, hey, keep it reasonable, somewhere in this range, like 100 grams, and it's A-OK. Same for pineapple. 100 grams or a 3.5 ounce serving has about 13 grams of carbs. In and of itself, totally fine. You just need to monitor how much pineapple you put in your smoothie. And then the last one we'll look at is strawberries. And here's a spoiler alert. Strawberries are A-OK. Hey, if fruit is God's dessert, then strawberries is God's low-carb dessert. Seriously, strawberries is like a perfect fruit, kind of perfect dessert for a low-carb dieter, or at least my definition of low-carb, because 100-gram serving of strawberries only has 7 grams of carbs, and that's including the fiber. So it's actually less because it does have some fiber in it, so we could, there's actually less usable carbs. Actually, it was like 7.68, and I rounded down a little bit to make it more dramatic, but don't tell anybody. So, okay, really 7.5. Anyway, it's not many carbs. So when you're making your smoothie, to make it so that it's A-OK, all you have to do is monitor how much fruit you put in there. And keep in mind that strawberries are, compared to these others, are relatively low carb, so to speak, because you get more fruit, more volume per amount of carbs. So here's what I want you to do, David. I want you to make your breakfast smoothie as you normally do, but then before you actually put the ingredients in the blender, and use what you normally would, but then I want you to measure out the portions and figure out, how much fruit you're putting in there, whether it's grapes, strawberries, bananas, whatever. A lot of people combine a strawberry and banana, for example, and that's A-OK. But let me know how much you're adding, and whatever fruit it is, let me know the volume of it, or not the volume rather, but the weight. The digital scale weight, and then I'll calculate how many grams of carbs in it, and I'll let you know if it's okay. So that's what I encourage all of you to do. If you make a smoothie, just simply don't be naive and don't bury your head in the sand. Instead, monitor everything that you put in the smoothie to make sure that you're not adding too many grams of carbs. Because even though these foods are healthy, so to speak, and I'm doing air quotes right now, even though they're quote-unquote healthy, they still have carbs, and you simply cannot eat too many carbs at one time and expect to lose fat. All right, my friends, that's going to do it for this episode of the Dr. Clay Show. Till next time, peace.